Let's come down to Joe Root, and I must draw your people's attention to that tweet from Michael Vaughan today. What's about Skinny Joe? He nicked your bats, did he, Michael?
I used to. I'm from the same cricket club in Sheffield, so I was playing for Sheffield Collegiate Cricket Club with his dad, Matt Root, in the second team.
Is that how you are?
His granddad Don was a supporter of the club, so Don was always at the ground watching the first team, and then obviously little Joe and his brother Billy arrived around the mid-90s. Used to nick the bats out of the dressing room, want everyone to bowl, the little orange wind balls. He'd have us all bowling at the end of the game on the outfield. If it rained, even better, because the ball skidded off. My brother captained him in the second team when he was a 14, 15-year-old. And the club were great because all the young players that came through, we really believe that if a young player comes through a club system, they bat in the position that they're hoping to be when they grow up, And if a young kid comes and says, look, I want to try and be a cricketer, right, what are you going to be, a top order player? Well, you're going to bat in the top three for the adults. And, where Joe is so good square the wicket and deflecting, it came from back in those days where he couldn't hit it in front of square. So he had to learn the art of using the pace, playing a few trick shots, running between the wickets really hard. He couldn't walk down the wicket and bash it over the bowler's head. He couldn't smack it through extra cover as a 14-year-old in men's cricket. But what he could do is occupy the crease for a long period of time, try and rotate the strike. And the senior member of the team, the adults in the side, would have to risk their wicket, if you like, to get the scoreboard ticking, because they could see at the club that Joe had a great chance of going on to be something. And they just allowed him to bat. So there was many times where he'd bat probably 45 of the 50 overs and he'd be 37 not out, 37, 38 not out, because he just couldn't hit it. But it was all about development. And I think that's why he's such a good player of spin as well. I look at the real great players of spin. Of course, the greatest have every option. The Viv Richards can smack it out of the ground and they've got all the tricks as well. But someone like Joe Root, because he's never had the ability or the strength to whack it down the ground, he's had to work his game, so he's quick on his feet, nimble, gets right back, sweeps both sides of the wicket and picks up length brilliantly. And I just wonder, it's because of that initial years when he was younger that he couldn't whack it. He had to work out ways of being more skillful. And that's what you see now with the batting hand, particularly against spin. He's up there with the very, very best of knowing how to play spin bowling. There's not many. Archie, you've seen a lot of England players over the years. There's not many that can play spin like you see in the way that Joe Root's playing the spinning deliveries these days.
We've seen some. India will never forget Graham Gooch in the semi-final of that World Cup, and Andy Flower, who's now an Englishman in every sense of the word. But just a couple of points about Joe Root as well. In Sri Lanka, he got more than half his runs playing the sweep shot. And I thought today the whole battle would be India against Joe Root's sweep shot. But he didn't play it that much because he realized the conditions were different. He realized India were going to bowl differently. I love the fact that the cover drive came out. I love the fact that he was flicking through the onside. Occasionally the slog sweep came out. And I love the way he built his innings. He came in at 60 for 2, remember? England could easily have been 80 for 3, 100 for 4. And if you look at session by session, first session 27 over 67, they just fell their way around. And then he got 73 or 30 overs. And then in the last session, the bowling tiring really picked it up. So I thought it was a wonderfully organized and well-paced test match innings.
Yeah, you hear the word tempo mentioned a lot in the commentary box, and it was the perfect tempoed innings. As you said at the start, very circumspect, didn't sweep. I think that was to do with Ashwin. I don't think he's 100% confident at sweeping Ravi Ashwin, because Ravi Ashwin is such a clever bowler and he's got that subtle variation. He brought the sweep out more so to Washington and then to Nadeem, because he does like sweeping the left-arm spinners. As soon as it's out of his eye line, so outside of off stump, he gets that sweep shot that goes in front of square on the onside. And as you mentioned, he just went up in the gears. The more he got used to conditions, the more that he could see the ball was softening, the more that he could see the bowlers were tiring, the more that he could probably see Virat changing his field. He kind of probably grew in confidence because of that. At the start of his innings, he knew today was a big day for him. Doing it against Sri Lanka obviously is not easy, but this is what it's about. It's about playing against the best teams. It's about leading from the front. This is a huge year for him as a captain. It's his year. He's got India at home and away. He's got New Zealand at home, and then he's got the Ashes series later on in the year. He's had 2 times of captaining against Australia already, and he's not won an Ashes series. A third time of asking. He knows that if it doesn't go well, it'll be very difficult for him to carry on. So this year is all about Test cricket for Joe Root, building that team up, playing the best teams in the world, and he knows by he getting runs. So every time he's got 100 for England in Test match cricket, now that today was his 20th, they've never lost. So they've never lost. So India have got no chance this week. They can't beat England because Joe Root's now got the century. I'm slightly concerned. I said India 3-0 before the series. So I hope I'm wrong. As I've always said, I hope I'm proved in England. But you just look at it, you go back to 2016 in particular, when England got a similar start to what they've done today. You know, they didn't capitalise. So they know that this Indian side is so powerful. But Joe Root just knows how to lead. He knows how to play the subcontinent conditions. His record there is second to none. And he'll be getting a few more runs over the course of the next few weeks.